Okay, what's going on, guys? Today we're gonna do our final part of our off-season grades. If you haven't watched the first two parts, please go and watch them. I'm just gonna get straight into it. Um, as um, everything that I've said in the prior videos will be the same in this one. So let's just get into it and start off with Paper X, where I'm actually gonna give them an S. I was considering giving them an A here. But I think this one is kind of similar to like an NRG where it's just like, all right, you had Mini, although here I would say it's maybe even a bit better because like you had Mini, right? And he was, I would argue, a pretty big reason for why they had that success story. And getting a guy like Wendler, he's just like a perfect fit for that sort of role, similar to what Mini probably did. And if you know about Wendler, you know how like impressive his resume is and like what he can do for a team is very impressive. So I like that pickup. And then otherwise, I mean, look, this would have been probably an A if they would have kept the entire roster together. Because I don't give out, as I said, S. There needs to be something standout happening, and here just getting Envy. I mean, arguably the best player, like a top 5 player in Pacific for every single season of franchising so far, and he's been playing on arguably the worst team of those entire 3 seasons. Like, if you look overall in Pacific over the course of the 3 years, if we take away Ascension teams, Team Secret are probably the worst. And Envy has still been considered probably one of the top 5 to top 10 players in all of Pacific. So, I mean, this is just like a no brainer to me. Like, it's just such a good pickup. Now, of course, Patman was incredible for them, but so it is a bit sad to see Patman go, obviously. But like overall, it's kind of like when you watch like a Fnatic from like 2022, 2021, when like sure Mystic was incredible for them, Enso was really good for them. Like all of these players were good, but they had chances to get insane upgrades. So then you're gonna get insane upgrades, and this is kind of in the same boat. Like Patman was really good for Paper X, but if you can get Envy, you're gonna get Envy, you know. Um, but yes, this is an S to me. Now moving on to DRX, they keep everything the same. They get rid of Estrella, which I think is fine. I'm gonna give them an A. I was actually tempted to give them a B because I feel like it was a bit of a fluky run at champs, so I would maybe like to see like a change of some sort. But overall, I don't mind it. And overall, I still think like this roster still came like top 4 at champs, so you can't. I wouldn't say like I'm that surprised that they didn't make a change. So I'm just gonna give them an A because I think the roster is still gonna be good. Probably no matter what, pretty much. Moving on to Gen G, I'm gonna give them a D here, which might seem harsh, but pretty much my thought process: getting rid of Munchkin, yikes. Now, of course, if you couldn't keep Munchkin, then that's fine and all. But then I just feel like the roster production is really confusing. Stinks has been a stand-in, but I would assume that he's going to be the main guy on the roster, considering Foxy9 hasn't been playing whatsoever, and it seems like it's been pretty indicated that he's probably going to leave. But yeah, the roles here are just weird. Like Ash going over to controller, you have Lakia's IGL playing the recon, right? And Lakia's been fragging, to be fair, so I don't mind that too much. But then yeah, Texture's still in duelist, but like then Karen is gonna play Senti. Like I don't know, man. I don't really. I mean, trust the process with Solo and HSK. Like they're good. Don't get me wrong. And Sinks looks like a solid player, but I'm just a bit confused, and that's why I give it a D because I just feel like you could have done quite a lot here, and it feels like just kind of underwhelming and a bit confusing where the future lies. Going over to RRQ, I give them an A. I think Jovi was great last year, and overall keeping the roster together makes sense. This is a roster with honestly a lot of potential that we saw throughout the year. I mean, they won Pacific once, and sure they struggled a bit at internationals, but overall, like Cushy is still young. Monye is still getting into like himself. I would say like if this were to be an S, I would probably have looked to maybe change Monye and like get an upgrade there. But otherwise, I mean, Crazy Guy really proved himself this year and was a fantastic IGL when they picked him up. Xfero, I think, is one of the best Sentinels in the entire world. And Jemkin, I mean, is just Jemkin, yeah. And I mean, obviously, they couldn't really affect Ewok leaving. Um, but overall, I think Jovi is a really deserving and great replacement. So overall, I'm just going to give them an A because although there wasn't many like insane changes, like overall it was just solid from them, right? I don't think they needed to do much. So yeah, I'm gonna give them an A. Now going over to T1, I'm gonna give them an S, as not only are you giving Stacks a lot more freedom, but you're picking up arguably a top five, if not top three IGL in the world, and you're getting KDG, who was fantastic coaching for T1 Academy. Like, just so you understand, this T1 Academy roster with KGG as head coach, um, they won like Korean challengers over SLT Songnam, who made it into tier one. That's how good this team with KGG was. So like he was so deserving of it, and considering what Otton and Shangdang got did last year, it was kind of underwhelming considering the roster they had built, and just getting solidifying that role. And Munchkin can play anything, so I don't think he's gonna struggle playing that controller role. And sure, DH was solid for them over the course of the year, but I just think overall getting in a guy like Munchkin is just gonna stabilize this roster so much because it just felt like that controller role felt very unstable, and it just felt like that rookie spot just didn't really clashed a bit with the team. And overall, I just think now we have five like well-known veteran players and just superstar players on this team, and on top of that, a coach that has proven himself time and time again with T1 Academy. Yeah, I honestly don't think T1 could have done much better than this, to be honest. Um, so yeah, that's why I'm giving them an S. Nongshim, I'm gonna give them a B. They switched out Persia for X-Ross. Of course, they did that in Ascension. Just now, is Persia's officially has left. The only reason why it's not really an A is just because while I do kind of like the change, this was still a team that like sure they made it out of Ascension, but I feel like when you looked at this team, they still had the potential to be like a champs contending team last year if they just made like some changes. And while Extras, I think, will most likely be an upgrade on Persia, I also am like not so sure if it will or not. Like Persia wasn't that great last year, so it's not going to be that difficult for Extras to like at least replicate that. But I'm not so sure that right away we're gonna see the impact of Extras. So therefore, it's a B and not an A for me personally. But yeah, overall, still a solid off season from Nongshim. Not much to complain from. Just realized I wrote Nongshim. My bad. It's Nongshim. But yeah, nothing too bad. But like, it's whatever to me. I don't really care too much about it. Now Zeta Division, I'm gonna give them a D. Um, honestly, there isn't too much terrible here. I think keeping Sugar Zero was good. XDL was solid last year as well. I just don't really understand the pickups here. To me, Eco makes sense. He's a talented player that came from tier 2. Fine. Absol also kind of makes sense. But then Shota was never really that great last year for Zeta. He never really proved himself in tier 1. So I don't really get why they pick him back up here. Then Depp and Tenten leaving as well. There's just you lost a lot of very good players and you didn't really replace them with much of anything exciting except for maybe Ika. Ika is like the one thing that I feel like on this roster is like exciting as a replacement. Shota, I think, is kind of a mediocre player. Same with Absol. So overall, I just feel like if you would have kept Depp and Tenten, or at least one of them, and then maybe got an Eco and then added someone like a young rookie, another young rookie, instead of just like Absol and Shota, just doesn't feel that exciting to me personally. But yeah, overall, still solid. Uh, but yeah, moving on to DFM, I have given them a C. Now, keeping Mei and Akame, I feel like was kind of just a no-brainer. Keeping Sas was a bit weird to me. I feel like if you're gonna keep one player, it's probably Jian here, except for obviously Akame and Mei. But they get rid of Jian and Jinbing. Jinbing, I feel like, was kind of a given that he was not going to stay, considering how poor of a season he had. And I don't think Sess looked particularly good, but obviously Jian can't really stay if you're going to pick up Jetsuken Kaide. Kaidai. Don't really know how to say that. But either way, I probably butchered it. Either way. But yeah, I like the pickups. I think they've looked good in tier 2 overall, and like overall they're good players, so I don't mind them. But it's not anything crazy. And I would have probably liked them to not to also get rid of Cess and add someone else in. But overall, it's still like, it's okay. Now going on to Team Secret. This is the only F tier team, if I don't remember wrong. And holy shit, I'm gonna rant here. Am I not? First off, I know they probably couldn't have affected it, but either way, you lose Envy. Sucks. Yikes. And then you get rid of all the other players and the head coach. Whatever. Fine. Okay. Don't know much about RBTX. But then it's just confusing to me everything else, pretty much. Okay, Kelly S and Jesse Vash is kept. And if I don't remember wrong, wasn't Kelly S the guy that replaced Jesse Vash in stage 2? I think it was? 2 IGL. So, and both of them, like, neither of them played particularly well. I would argue that, like, out of the players here, Jesse Vash and Kelly S were the worst performing players on this roster. And those are the two you kept. It just makes zero sense to me. And especially if you're trying to build like a new identity, considering how much you've changed otherwise. I don't understand why an IGL shift isn't being done here, to be honest. Considering as well that Kelly S and Jesse Vash both looked pretty poor last year. Now the additions I don't mind, but to me, like, if you're gonna keep Kelly S and Jesse Vash, you need to add some punch. And personally, Sylvan, there's like nothing there to me punch wise. He's a okay support player, but that's about as far as it goes. Tenten and Berserks, I can see some punch coming in there, like some of that like young like talent. But overall, like this roster, just like when I look at it, like if you compare it to literally every other roster in Pacific, this roster just screams to me like they are not gonna beat anyone. Genuinely, this roster just overall, it's just like it's not bad per se, but like it's not tier 1 quality. I could genuinely, like, coming into this year, if I just saw this roster without the Team Secret logo and everything, I could have probably guessed that this. I would probably have guessed that this was a tier 2 roster. I would not have guessed that this was a tier 1 roster. Like, honest to God, I would have guessed that this was a tier 2 roster, not a tier 1. And that's sort of where this F comes from. I just think straight up they're probably going to be the worst team out of any of these 3 regions this year. So yeah, that's why they've gone on that F. Now going on over to global, I am actually very impressed by their offseason here. It's a bit sad to see Elevated go. I liked Elevated. Yeoman was a bit of a given, I think. Same. I mean, Bon literally got banned for years, so he was not going to be kept. Poppy leaving. I don't mind considering who you picked up. But yeah, Udaton and Crystal was clear cut, just like, yeah, you keep them. Like, no questions asked, you keep those two. They're superstars, genuine superstars on this team. And then I fucking love every single pickup here, to be completely honest. The only reason it's not an S really is because like, um, honestly, it's like it's close to being an S. This because Autumn has been incredible in China so far when he's played there. Um, and obviously Kentucky English because he's Australian, but that's besides the point. Xavier K is one of the greatest tier 2 talents out of, I think it was, did he play in SCA? I think so, yeah. He is fucking amazing. And then, I mean, adding Patman, like, he was just like one of the best support players of all of last year. So, like, you can't go wrong there, really. And then Frost obviously had coached Talon and almost made champs. So he's a really good coach. Don't know much about Vladkor, but yeah, just overall, like every single move this team made this offseason made sense. Like a lot of sense. And honestly, I don't think they made any wrong move whatsoever. It's just obviously you could have seen like an even crazier move, but honestly, it's like this is close to an S. This is genuinely really close to being an S tier. But overall, to me personally, it's an A. Full sense, I'm gonna give them an A. I mean, this is just the old Talon roster with Leviathan instead of Cruz, and then Cruz got to be head coach. So they pretty much just kept the entire Talon roster and then put in Leviathan instead of Cruz. I'm gonna guess Leviathan is going to IGL. I'm not sure though. And yeah, this Talon roster is just really good last year, and I don't doubt that they're gonna get better. I mean, Diakilua, Primi, all are just getting better and better and are fucking incredible aim-wise. Jip Boyce is also really solid overall, and I don't know much about Leviathan, but considering he was in Ascension, and from what I remember, he looked pretty good with Full Sense. I mean, I don't really mind it, considering also that Cruz kind of, like, yeah. D, by the way, is, I'm pretty sure, assistant coach and Cruz is head coach. Either way, I like this. I like this. Now, final team, it's Varel or SLT Songnam, and they just kept the entire roster. Obviously, it's pluses here because they changed org, so instead of SLT Songnam, it's just Varel now. So that's why it's pluses and not green check marks. Either way, I just give them an A. I feel like if you are, unless you can get a super upgrade, it's really unnecessary to change anything as a tier 2 roster coming into tier 1 if you made it through Ascension, because generally you're going to be pretty good, as long as it wasn't super fluky, like for example Tucci. And I don't think SLT Songnam was fluky at all, so I think they're going to be pretty good this year, and I feel like you can't really expect much more. But yeah, that was this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one.